They're all traits of a good poker player: understanding risk reward, the ability to read your opponents, money management, holding cards close to your vest. Well, they're also qualities needed to hold America's highest office. Poker and Presidents, today on High Roller Radio. Many a commander in chief have gambled, including the United States' first ever, George Washington. He played cards. His favorite game? Whist. Even kept records of wins and losses in a ledger he called Cards and Other Play. Another early president, James Madison, also enjoyed whist, even wagered on it. Whist, by the way, a classic English trick-taking game first played around 1728 by a group of regulars at a coffee house in Bedford Row, London. Apparently, Edmund Hoyle was a part of that entourage. In the 1800s, poker spread like wildfire across the country. Abraham Lincoln was first introduced to it decades before becoming president. In his early 20s, he worked on a boat delivering produce down the Mississippi River, watched and learned as card sharps and grifters fleeced travelers who had no idea what hit them. Years later, during the Civil War, Lincoln referenced poker while answering a question on diplomacy. After the Civil War, Ulysses S. Grant played poker in office, as did Theodore Roosevelt. He used the game as a means to an end, to gain entry into social circles while moving up through the political ranks. When he took office, Roosevelt issued a series of domestic policies he called the Square Deal. Poker at the time had a lot of cheats, and games began to advertise they were being dealt on the square. "All I ask for is a square deal," Roosevelt wrote. "When I say square deal, all I mean is that there shall not be any crookedness in the dealing." Roosevelt's successor, William Howard Taft, also played cards. And then there was Warren Harding, near the bottom on the list of best presidents all time. His administration embroiled in controversy, corruption, involved in numerous scandals. But he was a poker junkie, loved the game, held games twice a week while in office. Members of his administration also played, so much so they were dubbed the Poker Cabinet. "Forget that I'm President of the United States," he once said. "I'm Warren Harding, playing poker with friends, and I'm going to beat the hell out of them." Was he a good gambler? Probably not. Accounts suggest he once wagered a socialite on one cut of the cards, high card wins, and lost. The stakes? The White House china, which he had delivered the very next day. FDR played low-stakes games several times a week, nickel stud apparently, and he hosted games on the final night of each congressional session. Harry Truman played the most poker of all presidents, even had a special chip set made featuring the presidential seal. Seems he was fond of stud games with wild cards, and once played poker with Winston Churchill on a train to Westminster College, where the famous Iron Curtain speech was delivered. Here's a tidbit. At the moment the atomic bomb hit Hiroshima, Truman was playing stud poker with a group of reporters aboard the USS Augusta. And did you know 2 planes for reconnaissance in advance of those bombings were named Straight Flush and Full House? Dwight D. Eisenhower called poker his favorite indoor sport and was by all accounts the shark at West Point. Lyndon B. Johnson also played poker, as did his successor Richard Nixon, who many pundits say was the best poker-playing president. "A man that can't hold a hand in a first-class poker game isn't fit to be president," Nixon once said. In the Navy during World War II, he won 10 grand in a single session, enough to fund his first ever congressional campaign. And how about Barack Obama? Well, he's a 7-card stud guy who, like Roosevelt before him, used the game as a way to climb the political ladder. He played in a weekly game with fellow state senators in Illinois. In the book Cowboys Full, one of my favorites, which delves into how poker has infiltrated the political landscape over the years, Obama colleague Terry Link stated that Barack was a tight player with a calculated game. Quote, "If he stayed in, you figured he had a good hand," unquote. And this year, 2016, perhaps the biggest poker game of all. Who's going to win? And more importantly, will they be holding weekly games in the White House? Poker and Presidents, today on High Roller Radio.